It may be tough to find a sense of community these days,
Am I off mute?
Can everybody hear me?
but at AARP Arizona, we're bringing the community to you.
Hi, everybody. Glad you could join.
Oh, it's so good to see you all. What are we going to learn today?
Let's get started.
Whether it's reading a good book,
I am so glad we got to read historical fiction today. It is my favorite.
learning something new,
Ooh, a little love. How did that sound?
Three,
adding a spring to your
four.
step,
Do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4.
or telling someone you care about them. Connecting with others is just one click away. Visit aarp.org/near you today and find a new community tomorrow.
Well, hello. Thank you all so much for being here. So happy you can join us as we get ready for an amazing July 1st with Arizona History Happy Hour. So, I know some of you are watching us on. Oh, hold on. Got a little bit of a. Some of you are watching us on Facebook. Some are watching us on Twitch. Some are even watching on YouTube. I want to thank you all for being here as we kick off July here on July 1st. How did it get to be July 1st already? Kind of shocking. Not quite ready for that. Now, today's kind of a fun day in Arizona history. So back in 1876, the territorial prison was opened up in Tucson. Now, when they did that, they only had 7 prisoners in residence. Now, I have a joke for you. There's a lot I could say about the Grand Canyon, but it all seems too deep. That is because today is International Joke Day. It did not say Good Joke Day, so that's why you got that joke. It is also National Zip Code Day. So back in the late 60s, the Postal Service introduced zip codes to us all and even created Mr. Zip to encourage us all to use them. Now, as we get ready for a rather warm weekend with July 4th, one of those ways is to cool off with ice cream. And it is National Interesting Flavor Ice Cream Day. So I went to go take a look and see what my friends over at Sweet Republic were doing. And they had all kinds of great flavors like malted chocolate chip, pineapple whip, sweet corn, strawberry buttermilk, and a special that they just uploaded today, Rally the Valley, for our Phoenix Suns getting ready to go on and continue playing. So it's all going to be very exciting. So what can you expect here from Happy Hour? Well, we're going to have a little bit of trivia. We have a little bit of show and tell because I've got a few things in my house and they all have stories behind them. We also talk a little bit about Arizona music history, as well as a small town in Arizona. And, it would not be a happy hour if there was not some sort of libation involved. And indeed there is. As well as we have an extremely special guest on. So happy you can join us. Now, if this is your first time here, you might wonder, who is that man and why is he on my screen? Well, my name is Marshall Shore, and I moved here a little over 21 years ago. Before that, I was living and working in Brooklyn at a lovely Carnegie building. Decided to trade that for a 1950s branch library with Phoenix down in just below Central, or just below downtown. They are now in a brand new, beautiful space. Very excited to see libraries come back. Now, to do all this, we had to load everything we own into a big orange cube, a U-Haul. And their international world headquarters are here right in the Valley of the Sun. Now, promptly moved into a 1956 ranch that is pretty much original. You can see that's what my kitchen looks like today. Now, as soon as I got here, all I kept hearing about how there was no history here. But I knew that wasn't true because every time I went somewhere, whether it was on my bike, on foot, in a car, on a bus, wherever, I kept running across so many amazing people, places, and stories. And then there's that post-war boom that brought so many folks to Arizona. All those GIs that either were stationed here, trained here, or passed through on the way to somewhere else. And after the war, they were moving here in huge numbers and changing the way Arizona, we all could live here. All right. So my name is Marshall Shore. I'm also known as the Hip Historian. And I got that name by talking about some really cool stuff. One of my favorite things, which is the Mask of Yellow Moon. I just did a podcast last week with a Tucson radio station, as well as with Arizona Republic. So all kinds of fun stuff coming on. I mean, we're going to have a great July. We've got some great stuff coming up. Now, some of you have already found the chat. Please feel free to use that. You can post questions in there, make comments. If after we're done, if you think of like, oh, I wish I had shared that story, you can reach out to me on Facebook, on Instagram, or even good old-fashioned email. Still works. Now, I will ask if you're watching on Facebook to click on share, so that way all of your friends can see how much fun we are having with Arizona history. So, I talk about moving here from Arizona, but, I actually I'm moving here from New York City, but, I originally started off in a little tiny town in Indiana of about 25 people. And so I kind of have this affinity for small towns. And so that's one of the things I like to do is research and find out more and more. And so today we are going to talk about a little town called Christopher Creek. Now, Zane Grey, that celebrated Western author, fell in love with it. It's named for a French settler, explorer, and cartographer, Isidore Christopher. He lived here in the 1880s. With his bride, Mary Hope. Now, Christopher originally was a homesteader of this area that then went on to become Christopher Creek. It's smack dab in the middle of, it's right in the middle of the Tonto Forest. If you're looking for things to do around there, it's really cool. You could go visit a fish hatchery that was constructed back in the late 30s. As well as there are lodges. There's a lodge you can stay in with a little cabin, so you can hang out right there. And I looked up the temperature. I probably shouldn't have. It was a high of 84 today. So I probably should not have done that, because now I'm like, now I want to go. But, I have a feeling everyone else is going to be there this weekend. So I will go at a different time when there's not as many people there. Now, indeed, it would not be a happy hour without a libation. And, PJ keeps coming up with really great ideas that kind of tell the story of what we're going to talk about. And so today he has created the Road Fashion, which is mesquite whiskey, some cognac, because we were talking about how, in a lot of ways, historians are travelers. And, we always like a good cocktail. And so this is based on an old-fashioned, hence the cognac. And so what I thought was really cool was it's in one of those little airline bottles, so I can just pour it in my glass, and we are good to go. As well as with bitters. Because, whenever I'm traveling, I find sometimes small bars don't have bitters. These are sugar cubes that already have the bitters in them. So all you do is dump them in. And there you go. That is our Road Fashioned. So let's see how. Oh, yum. That is oh so tasty. And I love the idea of those sugar cubes that you can just put in any old thing. And he said it's a great way to travel, and especially if you're traveling someplace and you just have those little tiny bottles, you can do some really cool things with those. All right, so through the miracle of modern technology that we've all become much more accustomed to, I am happy to have a super special guest on this evening. He's been called the Cowboy Philosopher, an educator, lecturer, folk singer, and stage performer. He has taught Arizona history at Scottsdale Community College for over 40 years. So he has been an artichoke for over 40 years. That's pretty amazing. He writes a popular column for True West magazine called Ask Marshall. He also has been doing a blog for them as well as he does a podcast on Wild West. And back in 1997, he was named the official state historian. He's written more than 20 books on Arizona and the West, is a former Marine, and has been inducted into the Veterans Hall of Fame, as well as the Arizona Music and Entertainment Hall of Fame. So without any further ado, let's bring on Marshall Trimble. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Hello.
Hi, Marshall.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm doing just fine. By the way, I have a house. We have a house in Christopher Creek.
Oh, so so tell me more about Chris. I mean, I've never been there. So tell me more about it.
Well, it's one of the few places you can own a property and you got a running water running right down a stream that's never dry. You don't have to wait for the rain for the creek to fill up.
So it's not like the Salt River here, which hardly ever has any water in it.
Yeah. And they got a nice bar there called the Creekside. It's just, and a lot of friendly folks.
Nice. That's everything I was reading said. It was lots of friendly folks and a great place to go hang out.
Yep.
And a great place to dip your toes in some cool water, I have a feeling.
That's right. And you could fish if you like.
Oh, that's right, because there's a hatchery right there as well.
Oh, yeah, you got the hatchery, but you can fish right in the creek.
Oh, wow.
So it's got a little bit of everything. And the deer, I was going to say the deer and the antelope play up there, but the deer and an occasional bear play around there. But we don't bother them and they don't bother us.
You know, when I was reading, it was talking about how there was a bear that Isidore had killed, and then there was a fire, and they assumed that because they found this body, they thought it was his body.
Yeah. He had the pleasure of attending his own funeral. They buried him when he showed up and wanted to know who died.
Because it obviously was not him.
No, he killed the bear and left him there in the shed. He'd hung up the hide and on the wall there, and then left the old carcass right there. And the Apache party had come through, and they had set the barn on fire, and I guess it roasted the carcass of the bear a little bit, and they couldn't tell whether it was they just assumed it was old Christopher, and figured that because the Apaches had been on a big raid through that area, it led to the Battle of the Little Big Dry Wash a few days later up on top of the rim at General Springs, which is all in that same vicinity. And so they saw this cooked meat down there. They just figured that was old Isidore. So they dug a grave and were burying him, and Isidore comes riding in. And asked who's being buried. They said, "Well, you, as a matter of fact."
So I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of laughing tonight, which is a good thing. So now I know, so we normally do trivia, and this is no exception. We're going to do trivia as well. And so what we do with trivia is we have our questions. They're either true or false or multiple choice. So even if you don't know the answer, you can take a good guess at it. And then we'll take a little bit of an Arizona music break and come back, and Marshall will take us through the answers and explain the stories behind those answers. So who's ready for some fun? Now you keep track of, some folks keep track in the chat session. Some folks keep track on a pad and paper. Whatever makes you happy, you go right ahead and do that. Because the goal is all about not necessarily what you know, but what you know when you leave this evening. And that's the fun of it. All right. So who was the first woman governor elected in Arizona? Was it A, Rose Mofford, B, Janet Napolitano, C, Jane Hull, or D, Hattie Mosier? Who was the first woman governor elected in Arizona? All right. Question 2. Which of these cities is the highest elevation? A, Jerome, B, Payson, C, Prescott, D, Bisbee. So which of those 4 cities is the highest? Some might even say a mile high. All right. Question 3. What is the Flagstone capital of Arizona? So the Flagstone capital is right here in Arizona, and it's one of those 4 places. All right. The first cowboys in Arizona were Indians. Is that true or false? Question 5. Where is Central Arizona? Is the Z as in Arizona? No, it's not that Z, but is it Bumblebee? Is it Duga? Is it Tucson, or is it Thatcher? Where is Central Arizona? Which is true about McDonald's fast food here in Arizona? A, first franchise was in Phoenix. B, Sedona is the only place McDonald's has a teal arch. C, the first drive-through was in Sierra Vista. Or D, all of the above. Which of those is true in Arizona about McDonald's? All right. Question 7. What was the original mother county of Arizona? Was it A, Yuma, B, Mojave, C, Yavapai, or D, Santa Cruz? Which of those 4 counties was originally the mother county of Arizona? Which is older, the Grand Canyon or the Petrified Forest? Now, you know, they're both pretty old, but one of them is older than the other. And which do you think it is? What is the hottest state in the U.S.? Is it A, Hawaii, B, Arizona, C, Texas, or D, Florida? What is the hottest state in the U.S.? All right, and here we are at the top of question 10. Pine Top, Arizona, in the heart of the largest stand of ponderosa pines in the world, was named for the pine trees. A, B, a tall saloon keeper. C, cabin roofs were made of pine. Or D, Theodore Pinetop. Where did that name Pinetop come from? All right, and you know, we actually have a bonus question. So you can add this to your score. So our bonus question for tonight is, Snowflake, Arizona was named for the brutal blizzards that hit northern Arizona in the winter of 1948 and 49. Is that true or false? All right. Well, while you are locking in all your final answers, we are going to have a little bit of an Arizona music break. And Marshall, I think you actually know the gentleman I'm going to be talking about. And it's your friend Dolan Ellis.
Yep.
So Dolan has written over 300 songs about his experiences in Arizona. Now, he moved here in the late 50s, was working as a jazz singer while he was working on his journalism degree. And then he wound up doing gigs all over the place and got a gig out in Scottsdale at Portofino's. And then he was recruited in the early 60s by the New Christie Minstrels. And they traveled all over the place. But, you know, he eventually realized that he missed Arizona. And that what he really wanted to do was tell stories about Arizona in song. And so that's just what he did. And in 1966, he was appointed the official state balladeer by then Governor Sam Goddard. Now, he was involved with the creation of the Arizona Folklore Preserve down in Ramsey Canyon. And that is where he's the artist in residence. And, you know, I'm so excited because a lot of times we're not able to play music because we can't get the okay from the artist. But Dolan said, please do. So here we are. He's with one of his songs all about a highway that many of you may have even been on today.
The roads between Tucson and Phoenix, it was paved, but it was very, very narrow. And it went through all these little towns, Chandler, which was tiny little wide spot in the road, and Coolidge and all these places. I wrote this back in the 70s. It's called I-10 Highway. Arizona I-10 Highway, there's a trucker going my way. Play a tune in the afternoon on a guitar that I carry on my back. I can see the signs of Tucson from the freeway that I ride on, telling me all the sights to see down in Tucson. But I'm long gone with each puff from the diesel stack. As I pass the irrigation roads, the crops a Pima farmer grows goes flipping by like pages in a worn-out history book. And the story that it seems to tell, the pride of his work and a job done well, cooperation of a reservation full of neighbors, and the labors of his people that it took. Arizona I-10 Highway, there's a trucker going my way. Play a tune in the afternoon on a guitar that I carry on my back. I can see the signs of Tucson from the freeway that I ride on, telling me all the sights to see down in Tucson. But I'm long gone with each puff from the diesel stack. Well, on down that Arizona I-10 highway, you get a little beyond halfway between Phoenix and Tucson. There you'll come to a pointed mountain called Picacho Peak. Up ahead is Picacho Peak. If that volcanic rock could speak, the things she'd say about yesterday and the way history unfolded at her feet. In the summer of '64, the only battle of the Civil War, fought right there in the desert air. The soldiers straddled McCulloch saddles to the sound of a bugle beat. Arizona I-10 highway, there's a trucker going my way. Play a tune in the afternoon on a guitar that I carry on my back. I can see the signs of Tucson from the freeway that I ride on, telling me all the sights to see down in Tucson. But I'm long gone with each puff from the diesel stack. Yes, I'm long gone with each puff from the diesel stack.
All right. That was great. As we all get a chance to learn a little bit about Highway 10. All right. So, Marshall, who was the first governor elected in Arizona that was a woman?
The first one elected was Jane Hull.
I know. I wonder how many people just jumped at that first of like, oh my gosh, it's going to be Rose Mofford. But she was not elected.
Yep, she was appointed, or she inherited it. She was an old friend of mine, and she didn't have as much fun being governor as she was as Secretary of State. So those were some angry years among some people. For she had replaced an impeached governor, and he had quite a following, and she complained to me several times that she'd had enough of politics. So when it came time for the election, she didn't run. She could have won, but she just had enough of it.
Indeed. And then I know that she also had donated some of her softball memorabilia.
Oh yeah.
And so looking forward. So that's actually supposed to be coming back down to the Mining Mineral Museum. Hopefully soon. I don't know how soon, but rumor has it that place is going to come back to life.
Yep. Yeah, Rose was a wonderful person.
She was indeed. All right. Question 2. Which of these cities is the highest elevation? And that would be Bisbee. One of my favorite places in all of Arizona to go.
Yeah, Bisbee's got a lot of things going for it. It's got all that great architecture down there from the mining days, and I just love Bisbee. Haven't been there in a few years, but have a lot of friends down there still. I think I still do. Last I heard, they were still alive and kicking. But
I just did a couple of programs with the library down there. Sadly, they were virtual. They weren't doing in person yet, which I completely understand. Yeah. But I'm hoping next year I can get to Bisbee to do some programs in person.
Bisbee's the southernmost mile-high city in the United States too.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and Bisbee High School, the old high school, it's closed now. The new one's closed now. I mean, they've got a new one, I'm sure, but the old one was 4 stories high, right downtown. And Bisbee is a hillside city like Jerome, and you could enter the building from all 4 floors. You could enter the 4th floor from the ground.
Oh wow! So it really is like Jerome, where you can.
It made Ripley's Believe It or Not for that one.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That makes perfect sense because it is, again, it's so hilly that you could have multiple access points.
Yeah, it's a great little town.
It was
at one time it was probably the classiest town between San Francisco and New Orleans.
And it's still got a lot of that class going for it.
Yeah, yep.
I mean, all those beautiful buildings and lots of artists. All right, so question 3, what is the Flagstone capital of the world? And I have a feeling you know about this really well.
I grew up there, yeah. That's my hometown.
So why do they call it the Flagstone capital of the U.S.?
Well, they wanted to be the Flagstone capital of the world, and they asked me to prevail upon the legislature to do that. And when I got down to the legislature to make the pitch, they said, we don't have any authority outside of Arizona, so you can't even make it. You can't even call it the Flagstone capital of the USA, much less the world. But I said, I thought we'd just go for broke. And so they said, you'll have to go back and tell those folks they'll have to settle to be the Flagstone capital of Arizona. So that's what we are. But when I was there, it was a railroad town and a Route 66 town, big Route 66 town, and it was a junction in the road to the main highway to Phoenix from Route 66.
Okay.
And so it's still a great little town, and it's the town that is also the town too tough to die. They tried to kill it when they bypassed it, and the railroad bypassed it, and the highway bypassed it, and that town just hangs on.
Indeed, it does.
Yeah, we only had 10 kids in my senior class there, and so, but I can put on my resume that I was in the top 10 in my senior class.
Yet another accolade for your. So
I promote it every chance I get.
Completely understand. All right. So the first cowboys in Arizona were Indians? And that is true.
Yep. Yeah. You see, the first cattlemen in Arizona were the Jesuit priests. And about the 1690s, they began to come into Arizona. And they also introduced cattle to the natives, and fruit trees too, to the Akima Orum and the Pima people when they came in, and they came in from the south, and so they brought cattle, they brought fruit trees, and all kinds of things that would make you have a better lifestyle, but you aren't going to get the priests out there in those sandals and robes herding cattle. So the mission Indians became the cowboys. So the first cowboys were Indians.
Wow. All right. Where is Central Arizona?
All right. Now, most people, and me included, I would think Dugas up near Bumblebee or Bumblebee. One of those. It seems like that's about where the center of Arizona is, but that's not Central Arizona. Central Arizona is a name of a community between Thatcher and Pima, and it's halfway between Thatcher and Pima, and it's a real small little town. However, world champion cowboy Dale Smith was a resident of Central Arizona, and a fellow by the name of Jack Elam. You know who Jack Elam was, Marshall?
Oh yeah, the guy with the crazy eyes.
Yeah, he was born in Miami, Arizona, but and graduated from Phoenix Union High School. But he lived for a while in Central, and so Central's just but it's Central Arizona. They named it Central because it was center between Pima and Thatcher. So that's Central Arizona. And you can win a lot of bar bets on that one.
But I love the fact they named it Central because it was midway between two towns, not because it was the center of the state.
People have never heard of probably.
Right. All right. Which is true about McDonald's right here in Arizona? A, the first franchise was in Phoenix. B, Sedona is the only place McDonald's has teal arches. C, the first drive-through was in Sierra Vista. Or D, all of the above. And it's D.
All of the above. Phoenix was the first franchise right on Central Avenue and Indian School Road. And right around 1953, I think it was, they had the first franchise in there. And we used to stop there when I was a baseball player on American Legion Baseball. we'd stop there after the games and have a hamburger for 14 or 15 cents. And if you wanted cheese, you'd pay another 3 or 4 cents. And but it was a very popular place. And then the drive-through came down at Fort Huachuca. The troopers at that time, the soldiers there, could not be out of the car when they left the base after work, after their shift was over. They couldn't get out of their car in their BDUs. Regulations forbade that. And so the manager of the McDonald's, he was losing business because they were driving right by because they couldn't get out and go inside in their BDUs. And so he just knocked a hole in the wall. And that was the beginning. It was such a success that McDonald's went to put drive-through in all of them. And the other one is Sedona. And don't say the price of your drinks will be raised. They'll raise the price on everything if you say that the arches are green. They are teal. This is Sedona, of course. Well, there she is.
So that must have been quite a time in Phoenix, because we had right after McDonald's, you also had Bob's Big Boy open their first franchise here as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, down on Central and Thomas.
Yeah, and so those are like the anchors of Cruisin' Central.
Yeah, that was our big hangout. And I was going to Phoenix College, and we went down there. We went down there just to make sure that the girls were safe. Protect them from those wolves.
Of course. All right. What was the original mother county of Arizona?
Yavapai.
Yavapai. So why was Yavapai called the mother county?
Well, originally there were 4 counties. There was Mojave County, Yuma County, and Pima County. 4 counties, and from that they started breaking them off. At one time, what you see there with where Yavapai County is, it went all the way across up to the Colorado or the Utah border, and all the way to the New Mexico line. Apache, Navajo County, and Coconino County. And Coconino County today is the 2nd largest county in the United States. So all of that got taken. It was just too big. Gila County spread off from it. Parts of Maricopa came from there, and Apache, Navajo, Graham, all of those Greenlee, all those counties were just chipped off of Yavapai. And so Yavapai is the mother.
Wow, and then basically gave birth to all these other little counties around it.
Yeah, they were created from it. Pima did a little bit, and Yuma during recent years, Yuma split and created La Paz County in the 1980s.
Okay.
A piece of Mojave County was stolen away from us by Nevada. And we still call it the Lost Paiute. But you know what it includes? Clark County. Today's Clark County. It was in Arizona, it was Paiute County. But Nevada was a state, and we were just a territory. And Nevada says, we want that. And they took it. So otherwise, the city, you see the city of Las Vegas was just a little Mormon settlement crossing there. On the way to San Bernardino to California, where they had a colony, and if you were to look for the border of Nevada, had that not happened, you'd have to go all the way north to Beatty. So Beatty could have been Las Vegas, I suppose, but I doubt if it ever would have happened. History would have really altered, because it was really what really made Clark County, what's today Clark County, was the building of Boulder Dam, today Hoover Dam.
Right.
And they were doing that in the 1930s. And it was other that it was just a little spot in the road until they started building the dam.
And I guess that made it also easier for all the mafia to get from Phoenix to Las Vegas as well.
Yeah. That's probably more than anybody wanted to know about it.
We won't tell anybody.
We do still call it our lost county, Lost Paiute.
All right. Okay, so question 8. Which is older, the Grand Canyon or the Petrified Forest? And it's the Petrified Forest is older.
Yep. Petrified Forest is about 225 million years old. We like to say it was created in 225 million years ago, and it's still stoned. So, and then and Grand Canyon is only 70 million years old. So Grand Canyon is just a child.
Oh my God, it's a youngin'.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Much younger than Petrified Forest.
Indeed. But still both beautiful places to go visit.
Oh yeah. Well, the only thing that compares to being that old is Bill and Ellis.
Oh, because you know what? It is International Joke Day.
Yeah, so. I hope he's working. I hope he's watching.
If not, I'll be sure and send this to him so that way he can. I'll tell him he gets mentioned more than once. All right. So what is the hottest state in the U.S.? Now, a lot of people probably thought on a day like today, it was Phoenix.
Yep.
But it's not. It's Florida.
Well, you would think Phoenix or Arizona is not even in the top 10. Believe it or not, we aren't even in the top 10, and we can thank Pine Top, Greer, Alpine, and Flagstaff, and Sholo, all of these places, because our average height, elevation, I should say, is just 4,100 feet, and that's quite high when you think about it. And if you go down to Texas and all along the Gulf Coast states, they are all, there's no mountains there.
So they have nothing to drop the temperature.
Nothing to speak of. So their elevation is lower, and so they're much hotter and much more humidity. We've had humidity. I sound like that guy that used to be on the news about 8%, 6-8% here recently.
Yeah, which is kind of high for us. We're not used to that high.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me a bit. I've been in those places where I've been in the deep south where the humidity is just about as high as the temperature, and I'll take this dry heat. We make jokes about it, but it is a dry heat, and that's good.
Indeed. I mean, compared to being like New Orleans, where it's like you just walk out and you're drenched because you're sweating. Yeah, I agree. I will take the dry heat because it actually does what it's supposed to. It evaporates.
Yep.
Which is rather nice. All right. Pine Top is in the heart of largest stand of ponderosa pines in the world. And what was it named for? A tall saloon keeper.
Yep. He was, I forgot his name for a minute here. But he was a bartender there. This used to be on the old military road. And the soldiers would be riding over the Crook Trail and going over to up to the top of the rim and then across to Fort Verde. And as they were making that trip there along that road, they'd say, "Let's stop at Old Pine Top." Walt Rigney was his name, Walter Rigney, and he was a tall, red-headed, bushy hair, and his hair stuck out like a pine bough. And so the soldiers always called him Old Pine Top. And then when the Apache Wars ended, people started building cabins around the area there and moving in there. It was a lot safer then. And so when they got ready to name a town, they named it after, even though it is the largest stand of ponderosa pine in the world, they named it Old Pine Top for a tall, bushy-headed bartender.
Wow, he must have been a really good bartender, or they were really thirsty by the time they got
there. It was the only bar. It's probably the only bar in the Rim country there.
And they were so happy to see him.
Yep.
They're like, we're going to name our town after you.
Yeah.
All right. And now we are coming up to our bonus question. And that is all about Snowflake, Arizona. And was it named for brutal blizzards? No, that is false. Who was it named for?
Erastus Snow was a Mormon apostle, and William J. Flake was a rancher in the area. And it was named for those two guys. It does snow in Snowflake. And there's another little town there. It's sort of a town. It calls itself a town. Jake Flake. There are a lot of, in fact, there are a lot of flakes in that area. You can walk out there, walk down the street, and say, "Hello, Flake," and they won't get offended by it. Just talking to one of the Flakes. But Jake Flake was an old friend of mine when he was in the state senate, and he's told me, he said, "Marshall, did you know there's another town up there?" And I said, "What is it?" He said, "It's called Belly Button." And Belly Button, and so the next 2 or 3 times I was through there, I kept looking for Belly Button. He said it's between Snowflake and Taylor. And so I said, I can't find it. I drove up and down that road between Taylor and Snowflake, and I can't find Belly Button. And he said, what do you got right in the middle of your stomach between the lower part of your body and the upper part of your body? And I said, your belly button. And he said, well, that was our ranch. And so there's a big sign there. There's a big sign as you go through there now. They've got it. I think they did it for my benefit, but they put a sign up there called "Welcome to Belly Button. Population still growing." And so that we do have a town called Belly Button. We are a land of anomalies and tamales.
And nothing.
Yeah. So.
And why? Yeah, I mean, lots of great little town names.
Yeah. Oh, we had nothing, and there's one called Nowhere, and that's out south of Prescott. And
yeah,
when why and we, not a bird. We've got them all. A lot of them are pretty whimsical because a lot of people didn't plan on staying around very long. Well, did we have any winners there?
Well, so the beauty of this is we're all winners because we all got some great stories.
Okay.
I mean, so that's the fun of this. So, and I love that people kind of already know. I mean, Sarah and Jeff said, hey, Sarah got 7 out of the 11. Jeff got 4 out of 11. But, I always tell people it's not your score. It's if we did a pre-test and a post-test. Yeah, hopefully you would score much higher at the end after we had gone through it.
Yep. Nobody ever flunked my class in 40 years.
So, and I'm sure there was a lot of history that transpired and was communicated to all those students. Because I know you also taught high school as well.
Yeah, a local high school here, Coronado High School in Scottsdale.
Yeah, I think we might even have some of your students watching from Coronado here.
Probably do. I still hear from them every once in a while. They're all at AARP now. It's been that long ago. Some of them retired. And I was still working. You're already retired. I'm still working away.
Indeed. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing some of your time and some of your knowledge about this beautiful state we call Arizona. And thank you for all you do, all the books. I know you're working on another trivia book, but there's always that trivia game that is still a classic.
We're going to have to go to work on that trivia book with the Phoenix Suns keep winning.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh my gosh.
Sports questions. I thought thinking about we were on here tonight. I was thinking I got to call Peter Corbett and tell him that we need to get our editing done here on the Suns, but we better wait till the next week or so.
Right, exactly. I would say wait till you see where they go, and then because that can be a whole series of questions right there.
Yeah, we've been a bridesmaid too long with that NBA, and It's about time we just took home all the chips.
Indeed. And we can only hope that happens.
Well, I think these guys can do it.
I think so too. They've been doing great so far. So thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Marshall.
And have a great rest of your night.
Y'all do the same thing.
All right. So now, in case you were wondering, well, should I really click on share? Indeed, you should. And now you know why. Because of all the fun that we're having. Now, I love the fact that we were just talking about the Suns. And of course, for show and tell, what are we going to talk about? Why, indeed, it is Veterans Memorial Stadium over on the fairgrounds, which opened its doors back in 1965. And this postcard, I mean, you can see there's a big smiley face on it. They did things to the roof they probably shouldn't have done. That very first year, to celebrate its 1-year anniversary, their concept was to make it look like this, but it actually wound up being a telephone pole, which forever damaged those concrete little slabs that were put on. It's that unique saddle shape is made of over 1,000 precast concrete panels that are suspended on tension cables above the roof. Now, it was also home to the Arizona Suns from 1968 to 1992. And it was affectionately called the Madhouse on McDowell because McDowell is right there. Now, one of the things I love is that the Suns actually came from a housewife, Miss Celinda King. And she suggested the Suns, and so she won some money. And so that is why our Suns have that name. So we wish them well next week. Actually, I just found out today I have some friends who actually are going to the game, which is pretty exciting. So coming up next week, we have Mark Moorhead, who is from the Hall of Flame Museum, which if you've never been, oh my gosh, you will be shocked and amazed at what they have in their collection. It's going to be a really fun week. So always remember, if you have any stories you would like to share, questions, suggestions, comments, feel free to throw them in the chat, or you can always email me. And so as we get ready to say goodnight, I always want to give a special shout out to my cocktail advisor, PJ Vader Barron, for all of the amazing work he did. And, you know, and this is darn tasty of a cocktail tonight for the road fashion. So thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to leave you. We are going to listen to a little bit of Mr. Ho Orchestratica, a Sunny Slope boy that has a very 60s sounding band now out in New York. So thank you all so much. And it's also set to some found film footage. So thank you all so much for being here, and have a great rest of your night.